Creatures of Norse mythology, dragons of the North Fafnir, the greedy king who became a dragon. Every dragon has a beginning. Some were born from ancient chaos. Others emerged from the deepest corners of the world. But the most feared dragon in all of Norse mythology was not born a monster. He was born a son, a brother, a prince with a future. His name was Fafnir. Long before his scales hardened like iron, before his breath carried death, before heroes crossed mountains seeking his treasure, he walked as a man, and his story is not just about dragons, it is a warning that the greatest monsters are sometimes created not by magic, but by greed. The house of Hreidmar, long before the rise of mighty Viking kings, there lived a wealthy dwarf named Hreidmar. Unlike many dwarfs, Hreidmar was not famous for forging legendary weapons. His greatest treasure was his family. He had 3 remarkable sons. The first was Fafnir, strong, fearless, respected by warriors and dwarfs alike. The second was Regan, brilliant beyond measure, a master blacksmith whose skill rivaled the finest craftsmen beneath the mountains. The youngest was Otter, quiet, gentle, and gifted with unusual magic. Otter possessed the rare ability to transform into an otter. He loved rivers. He hunted fish beneath sparkling streams. He cared little for gold or glory. Together, the family seemed blessed, but fate had already begun weaving a darker story. The journey of the gods. One day, 3 travelers wandered through Midgard: Odin, the Allfather; Thor, the god of thunder; and Loki, the trickster. They had walked for many days, crossing forests, climbing mountains, following rivers that glistened beneath the northern sun. As evening approached, they searched for food. Thor spotted movement in the water. An enormous otter floated lazily along the riverbank. It had just caught a large salmon. The animal seemed completely unaware of the gods watching from above. Loki smiled. Without hesitation, he lifted a heavy stone. With one swift throw, the stone struck the otter's head. The creature died instantly. Loki laughed proudly. Tonight, we feast. None of them knew. They had just killed a dwarf. A terrible discovery. The gods carried the otter's body to a nearby hall. The hall belonged to Hreidmar. The old dwarf welcomed the travelers, but the moment he saw the lifeless otter, his face turned pale. Slowly, the body transformed. Fur disappeared, paws became hands. The animal became Otter, Hreidmar's youngest son. Silence filled the hall. Regan lowered his head. Fafnir stared in disbelief. Then, rage. Hreidmar rose slowly. His voice trembled. You have murdered my son. Thor reached for Mjolnir, but Odin raised his hand. There would be no battle today. Instead, the gods accepted responsibility. What payment do you demand? Asked Odin. Hreidmar answered without hesitation. The life of my son can only be repaid with gold. Loki's dangerous mission to save themselves. The gods agreed. Loki was sent alone. His task seemed impossible. Gather enough gold to fill the skin of the dead otter. Then, cover every inch of that skin with even more gold. Only then would Hreidmar consider the debt paid. Loki searched the 9 realms. Days passed, then weeks. At last, he reached a roaring waterfall. There, hidden beneath the rushing water, lived a dwarf unlike any other. His name was Andvari, the guardian of endless wealth. Andvari lived alone, not because he feared others, but because he trusted no one. Deep inside a hidden cave, he guarded an enormous treasure: gold coins, jewels, ancient weapons, precious rings, crowns forgotten by time. The entire fortune had been gathered over countless years. Every coin, every gemstone belonged to him. Andvari possessed another remarkable gift. Like Otter, he could change his form. Most often, he became a pikefish, swimming silently through hidden waters, watching over his secret wealth. But Loki was clever. Using a magical net borrowed from the sea goddess Ran, he trapped the fish. When Andvari realized escape was impossible, he returned to his true form, the ring that changed everything. Loki demanded the treasure. Reluctantly, Andvari surrendered it, one chest after another. Gold spilled across the cave floor. Jewels glittered like stars. Finally, only one item remained, a simple golden ring. Andvari quietly slipped it beneath his hand. Loki noticed. "What is that?" The dwarf hesitated. "It is mine. My last possession. My greatest treasure." Loki stepped forward. "You will surrender that as well." Slowly, Andvari removed the ring, his eyes filled with sorrow, but before handing it over, he spoke words that echoed through history. The curse of Andvaranaut. The ring was called Andvaranaut. Its beauty was unmatched, its value beyond imagination. Yet the gold carried something far darker than wealth. Holding the ring tightly, Andvari declared, "May this treasure bring death to every person who possesses it. May greed consume them. May brother turn against brother. May no one who owns this gold ever know peace." The cave fell silent. Loki laughed. "A curse? I fear no curse." He took the ring, gathered the treasure, and left. But as he disappeared into the distance, Andvari whispered one final sentence. "Gold does not corrupt. It merely reveals what already lives inside the heart." Those words would soon prove terrifyingly true. The price is paid. Loki returned to Hreidmar's hall. The gods laid the treasure before the grieving father. Gold filled the otter's skin. More gold covered every inch. At last, only a single whisker remained visible. Hreidmar pointed silently. Loki sighed. He removed Andvaranaut, the final ring. It covered the last exposed hair. The debt was paid. The gods were free to leave. But as Odin walked away, he looked back once. Hreidmar was no longer mourning his son. His eyes no longer held grief. They reflected only one thing, the glitter of gold, and Odin understood something terrible. The curse had already begun. A family torn apart night fell over the mountains. The treasure rested inside Hreidmar's hall. No one slept. Regan stared at the gold. He imagined magnificent forges, endless wealth, unlimited power. Fáfnir watched his father. The old dwarf refused to let anyone touch a single coin. "This belongs to me," he declared. "I paid the greatest price. My son." But Fafnir's thoughts grew darker. Why should one old dwarf keep such riches? Why should I wait for an inheritance? Why not take everything now? The curse whispered quietly into his heart, not through magic, not through voices, but through desire. The desire for more, far more than any mortal should possess. And before another sunrise, father and son would stand face to face, not as family, but as enemies. A single blow would begin one of the darkest legends in Norse mythology.